Well, hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and it is Sunday, which means that it is Soul Sunday. And what we do on Soul Sunday is we just bring the broadcast down just a tad. We go almost into a meditation on a Sunday. And I have chosen today because we have, hang on one second. I think we might have a glitch here, and I just want to check on it first. All right, let me just check on this. Don't you hate it when you think maybe that's the problem? All right. Anyway, but what we do on a Sunday is we take it down and we just get into a nice state. So I just want to give a heads up if you're new to the broadcast, welcome. And just understand that we have had a number of our viewers um, this week who unfortunately have had some tough stuff happen to them. We have one viewer who, ah, okay. We've had one viewer who has lost two members of their family in a week. And we have somebody who's just gone through a breakup. So, what I decided to do is to just take a moment and think about them rather than ourselves. I'm going to try and up the volume a bit. Is that a little bit better for you guys? I hope so. Let me know if it is. All right. Hi, Carrie. And so this is about let us help our friends who are struggling this week. And that is what I really would like us to concentrate on. And so bearing that in mind, for those of you who are new, please understand that there is a button down here somewhere where you can subscribe to our broadcasts. And that just means that whenever we're doing one, you'll get notified. And that's pretty important. For those of you who are regulars, you will know that we do 3 broadcasts a week, 2 on a Friday, one at lunchtime and one at 7. Those are Pacific times. And then we do the Soul Sunday broadcast on a Sunday. I just want to explain that on the Friday broadcast, the first one we do is what I call a skills broadcast. We try and learn something. The Friday evening is a smile broadcast where we try to smile a bit. Now, it normally ends up being a bit more serious, but we do start it by doing that. So, welcome to everybody, and I hope you're all well as can be expected. Steve Marboli said, "The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward." And I think that is something we would all want for those of our friends who are struggling is that they be able to slowly in their own time, because this will happen in their time, that they will be able to move forward. A very wise man once told me that you can't look back. You just have to put the past behind you and find something better in your future. And so, if your life has gone through a change, if your life just doesn't seem to be going in the direction you thought it was going to go, then understand it may be moving into a better place. And that sometimes is really difficult to believe when all the pain is happening to you. But 5 years from now, you may look back and say, "Phew, that's over." I thought this was an interesting quote, and some of you may have found this one. You will evolve past certain people, let yourself. In other words, as I've said many times, people come into our lives for a reason. And sometimes we don't understand what that reason is. It takes a while to work it out. And they just literally come into our lives and then leave again. But they were there to either teach us something or to have us teach them. And that is what I'd like you to remember. Someone said that my heart may be bruised, but I will recover and become capable of seeing beauty in life once more. It's happened before. It will happen again, I'm sure. When someone leaves, it's because someone else is about to arrive. I'll find love again. And Roy Bennett said, accept yourself, love yourself, keep moving forward. If you want to fly, you have to give up the weights that weigh you down. And I think all too often, right, we have those moments where we go, wow, I don't think I'll ever fly again. But you will. This was here for a reason. This was here so you could learn. And part of grieving is understanding. I always say to people, the reason that it hurts so much is because you care so much. The reason that you hurt so much is because you cared so much. And so if you're hurting lots, then remember that's a good thing. It means you loved lots. And I know it feels like you'll never trust anybody else again, but you will. It'll just take time. Robin Schneider said, that's all you can do in this world, no matter how strong the current beats against you, or how heavy your burden, or how tragic your life story. You keep going. And Wayne Meisner said, keeping baggage from the past will leave no room for happiness in the future. And I don't know if any of you have been through, a heartbreak like Kerry's going through at the moment. And, I am certain that Mike is too. I want to make sure that I acknowledge both sides of that because, they're both, I'm pretty certain, hurting. And as sad as that may be, they will both be better people for having met each other. And I don't want you to ever forget that. It's sometimes we want to do that, but you were both there to teach each other something, and that time has passed. Letting go doesn't mean that you don't care about someone anymore. It's just realizing that the only person you really have control over is yourself. And that word control is relevant, I think. People try to control us, and that is sad, but that is reality too. And I can remember in one time when I was married, I was married to somebody who was what they call a dry drunk. That is somebody who'd given up drinking but hadn't given up the reasons why they drank. And they didn't do the work sufficiently. And so, it's very difficult in life to realize that sometimes it's not about us, although it may be, and we need to look at that because we are only responsible and can only control our own behavior. And if there were things that we have done that we need to apologize for, then I'm sure that, you are big enough to do that. On the other hand, don't go doing guilt trips on somebody else. Why? They need to learn this lesson themselves, and they're not ready to learn it yet. And therefore, pushing them and being judgmental of them is not going to really help. Even though you may want to move forward in your life, you may have one foot on the brakes. In order to be free, we must learn how to let go, to release the hurt, to release the fear, to refuse to entertain your old pain. The energy it takes to hang on to the past is holding you back from your new life. What is it you would want to let go of today? And I think that's true for all of us, right? We've all got something that we need to let go of, and something probably from our past. And so let us all think about that. Think about, what is it that I need to let go of? The reason that we are angry is because we haven't let go of something. The reason that we are sad is because we're not willing to let go of something. The reason that we are frustrated is because we try to, you know, I want to say manipulate something that didn't happen. If you look at all these things, it is up to us to let go, not other people. Mandy Hale said, "Sometimes it takes a heartbreak to shake us awake and help us see we are worth so much more than we're settling for." Sometimes it takes a heartbreak to shake us awake and help us see we are worth so much more than we're settling for. You cannot look back. You just have to put the past behind you and find something better in your future. We're going to hear that lots of times in different ways. Rick Warren said that God sometimes removes a person from your life for your protection. Don't run after them. I'm going to repeat that. God sometimes removes a person from your life for your protection. Don't run after them. Have any of you had that in your life? Where, although your heart broke at the time, later you thought, wow, I am so glad I found that out early rather than later. And sometimes, I don't know about the rest of you, but sometimes I think to myself, how did that person cover that part of their personality for so long? And wait until I was, you know, hooked until they started to show it. And I think we've all met people like that. And we probably are people like that as well. I like to look at both sides. And Steve Marboli again said, cry, forgive, learn, move on. Let your tears water the seeds of your future happiness. Ann Landers said, some people believe holding on and hanging in there are signs of great strength. However, there are times when it takes more strength to know when to let go and to do it. C. Joy Bell C. said, if you want to forget something or someone, never hate it. Never hate him or her. Everything and everyone that you hate is engraved upon your heart. If you want to let go of something, if you want to forget, you cannot hate. I wonder if any of you have been through that. I know when I got divorced, I really had a lot of anger and hate inside me. And I also had a lot of judgment and a lot of everything that I'm not proud of. But it wasn't until one day that I remembered that I had loved this human being once and reminded myself that if I truly loved him, that I would want him to be happy, even if it was not with me. And I don't mind telling you, it was on that day that I truly started to heal. Truly started to heal. It was on that day that I felt the burden lift off my shoulders. It was that day I started to enjoy life a little bit more. You see, if we love something, let it go. All right. And this is true but just because they didn't turn out to be who you thought they were doesn't mean they don't deserve happiness. And so I think for me, the greatest gift I was given was that understanding that one morning when I woke up and I went, I've had enough of this. I really want to let go. And I think the only way I'm going to do it is to remember how much I loved him and to remember the reason that I that I hurt so much was because I loved him that much. And so let me wish him love. Alison Noel said, the only thing a person can ever do is keep moving forward. It takes a big leap forward without hesitation, without once looking back. Simply forget the past and forge on to the future. You see, letting go means to come to the realization that some people are part of your history, not part of your destiny. I'm going to read that again. That's Steve Marboli again. Letting go means coming to the realization that some people are meant to be part of your history, but not part of your destiny. Or maybe they are. Maybe this will be a wake-up call for that person. You must make a decision that you're going to move on. It won't happen automatically. You will have to rise up and say, I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how disappointed I am. I'm going to let this, I'm going to let this get, I'm not going to let this get the better of me. I'm moving on with my life. And I'm certain that most of us in the room have had something happen in our life where we had to say that to ourselves, or where we needed to remember that it's not worth giving it power. Right? It these things do not have power over us unless we choose. It's not about the other person having the power over us. It is the power that we have over ourselves. Do we have the power? Yes. And Beth, hi Beth. Beth is saying, I move on, but I never forget. Right. And that is an interesting thing, which is I do believe that this is all part of life and learning these lessons. What did you love about this? What did you not love about it? What checks and balances will you put in for a future? And that is how we all learn. Cameron Doki said that I had to cease to mourn what could never be and make the most of what is possible. And I would be doing that by trying to mend the hurts. I would begin by doing that, by trying to mend the hurts of the past. I always say to people, remember it took two, not one. It took two. It takes two people in love to start a relationship, and it takes two to finish one. You will find it's necessary to let things go simply for the reason that they are heavy. So let them go, let go of them. I tie no weights to my ankles. Roy T. Bennett, who I quote quite often, said, "Once you realize that you deserve a bright future, letting go of your dark past is the best choice you will ever make." Stephen King said, "If I kept saying it, if I kept reaching out, my accident really taught me just one thing. The only way to go on is to go on. To say, I can do this, even when you know you can't." You know, Beth is saying, I fight with my inner child on a daily basis, right? I win because I'm bigger and smarter. And you know that now. It's amazing, isn't it, Beth, how long you let your inner child rule your life with that guilt and shame and all those things. And so I applaud you for being able to see past that and go, wow, I choose not to do that anymore. Hi, Vitamin Water. Welcome. Even seasonal situations can bring with them lessons that last a lifetime. If the love doesn't last, it prepares you for the one that will. It was strange, really. A couple of months ago, I had thought I couldn't live without him. Apparently, I can. It is important that we forgive ourselves for making mistakes. We need to learn from our errors and move on. I cannot tell you how many times I beat up on myself for the choices I made in my relationships. And that's, it didn't really help me a great deal. Right? Beating up on myself really didn't help me at all. It was understanding that this was all about lessons I had to learn. Wow, Beth is saying I've acted like a child most of my life. Yeah, it is strange, isn't it? How we can see that now. And Carrie is saying my inner child is pouting and the adult in me is exhausted. I refuse to give in to my inner child at the moment. Well, I think from my experience, and everybody has their own way of dealing with this, but I have found that actually talking to that inner child and going, I know you're sad and I know you're hurting because your dream got shattered. Your little bubble got burst, and what you thought was going to be happily ever after isn't. I understand that. And I understand why you're sad. It's okay to be sad. We're moving on. Beryl Markham said, I have learned that if you must leave a place that you have lived in and loved, and where all your yesterdays are deeply buried, leave it anyway. Leave it anyway, except a slow way. Leave it the fastest way you can. Leave it and the fastest way you can. Do you understand? Never turn back and never believe that any hour you remember is better than the hour because it's dead. Past years seem safe ones, vanquished ones, and while the future lives in a cloud, formidable form a distance, formidable from a distance. It's I've noticed that women seems to hold on to the hurt longer than men. That is my experience, and I don't know if any of you've noticed that as well. Um, Women seems to hold on, and it's not fair, and he should have done this, and he should have done that, and da, da, da. Whereas men just go next. And so I'm not saying that you do it or anybody else does it, but that has been my overall um, observation in life. And when I think of the times I used to waste hanging on to stuff that had gone, it was over. And yet I really thought if I did this, if I did that, you know, he'd come back. Well, guess what? He didn't. Thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness. If you didn't love him, this would never have happened. But you did. And accepting that love and everything that follows is part of letting go. It's always important to know when something has reached its end. Closing circles, shutting doors, finishing chapters. It doesn't matter what we call it. What matters is to leave the past and leave in the past those moments that life that are over. You know, there are so many things that everyone in this room has had to close a door on, finish that chapter, turn the new page. All right. We've all had to do it on different things. That's not what is important. It's to know that we have learned what we needed to learn, and now it's time to move on to learn new lessons. Roy T. Bennett said, "Be brave and take risks." You need to have faith in yourself. Be brave and take risks. You don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. From my experience of bitter heartbreak, I want to tell you I have now learned that if I want to get healthy and heal quickly, I just need to let go of the word why. Why didn't he let me do X, Y, and Z? Why did he do A, B, and C? Why didn't I see the warning signs earlier? Why? And yeah, it's over. Doesn't matter. Move on. And I find that so true of anything in life. So true in anything in life, right? Asking why, to my mind, just slows you down. And it has sometimes absolutely, as I've said, nothing to do with us. And therefore, it's not what we did wrong necessarily. It just happened. Beth saying that when I get angry with my husband, I bring up little things in our whole 30-year history. I just want to win the fight. That doesn't work. My husband just stares at me like, are you done venting? You know, Beth, isn't that true? And what a waste of time to bring up that stuff in your 30-year history, right? It's over. They do say that, fight fair. And by the way, one of the things in fighting fair is don't cry. If you're having an argument or something, don't cry because that's not fighting fair. Yeah, Kerry's saying, I'm sad, but in a way, I'm relieved. I think, you've known for some time that this was coming, Kerry, if I read through the tea leaves correctly. It had to be coming. Change has to come for a life to struggle forward. That was by Helen Hollick. You know, Sometimes we need these tough times to make us stronger. Yeah, and and Kerry's saying, "I'm thankful to have an amazing support system." I think we all, can give thanks for that. That we, those of us who feel that. And George Martin said, "If I look back, I am lost." Yeah. Niash is saying, when I'm upset, I would go on and on and on until whatever I'm going through is over. I always cry. Well, of course you cry. You're sad that it's over. All right. You're sad that you didn't think of the right words. You're sad of that you couldn't control yourself. You're sad. I totally understand why you cry. And I'm certain everybody in this room understands because they've been there. It took me a long time, Nyasha, to find out that the reason I cried when I was angry was because of my frustration. Either I couldn't say because of society, I couldn't say what I really wanted to say, or I felt, I couldn't say it because that person wouldn't understand it or whatever. And, I was amazed how many times I realized I was crying out of frustration. It I did it to myself instead of just letting go and going, okay, fine, let me move on. I had to win. Beth, I so relate to that. And I love it when you're always so honest about those things. You need to win. And so you bring up old stuff that you think will help. Stephen King also said, some birds are not meant to be caged. That's all. Their feathers are too bright, their songs too sweet and wild. So you let them go, or when you open the cage to feed them, they somehow fly past you. And the part of you that knows it was wrong to imprison them in the first place rejoices, but still, the place where you live is that much drabber and empty for their departure. Yeah. So understand that I think I think when you can learn to look at why do I really cry? It's an interesting exercise, and I must admit I've done more than my fair share of crying in my time. And when I cry now, I really have a good talk to myself and go, "Hello, what are you so sad about?" Well, I'm sad because no, they really you can't change that. Move on. Elizabeth Berg said, "There is love in holding, and there is love in letting go." And it it doesn't really matter what you're letting go of. Some of you are letting go of old habits. Some of you are letting go of past things that you held on to. And so I really say to you, it is wonderful to be able to see what is going on, to sort of stand outside the hurt and look back. And Beth is saying, my inner voice is saying, don't say it, Beth. Don't bring up that thing, Beth. And then my mouth keeps going. My husband knows me well. He just lets me get it out. he sits down and listens and doesn't say a word. How many of you go, like you can feel the words traveling across your tongue and you can't close your mouth fast enough. Beth, there are so many things I've said in my time. And the older I get, the more I realize I can never take them back. Never. And that's why now, when I start to get into a heated argument and I can feel that I'm triggered and I am likely to say things that I may later regret, I actually now stop and I say, I'm sorry, I am triggered. I cannot continue now for fear that I will say something out of anger, something that I don't necessarily mean, and something I will never be able to take back. So I need to walk away now. Oprah said, the great courageous act that we must all do is to have the courage to step out of our history and past so that we can live our dreams. Isn't that beautiful? We need to be able to step out of our history and our past so we can live our dreams. In every friendship, hearts grow and entwine themselves together so that the two hearts seem to make only one heart with only one common thought. That is why separation is so painful. It's not so much two hearts separating, but one being rent asunder, torn asunder. Rent asunder was my word. Um, you know, and let us not forget that this is not just about Kerry today. This is also about those people who lost family members this week or even this month. They're also dealing with this brokenheartedness. They are also dealing with the pain of this. And what I've also noticed is that we become a little more judgmental in that pain as well, because we don't like the way other people grieve, because it's not our way. And so don't expect people to understand. And please, for those of you who are supporting people in grief, stay away from the words, I understand what you're going through, because you don't. You really don't understand what somebody else is going through. All right, and Beth is saying, I stop and think now, especially at work. I learned real fast to hold my tongue, seek first to understand. Beth, it'll save you every time, that little bit of extra time to let me understand their position first before I judge. Well done. And Carrie's saying, I am at peace with myself because I know I'm a good person and I know I do my best, and that's all that matters. Yes, you also know you're not a perfect person. And I'm delighted that you've got Erin in your life and that she calmed you down last night, right? That's what friends are for. In every friendship, hearts grow and entwine themselves. Just remember that. Whether it is the love of your life or whether it is your best friend or, a family member, whatever. When a relationship gets parted, and for some of us, it is our animals, right? Animals that we have loved more than our family. Let's be honest, for some people, that is true. And so we know that to have the joy of having them means that we also have to be prepared for the pain of losing them. All right, so Niasha is saying, but Mama Sal, based on walking away after being triggered, what about if someone sees you as lesser than and wants to manipulate and belittle you? Is it worth defending? Not really. They're going to think what they think anyway, Niasha, quite honestly. But what I say when I walk away, I say, I would like to complete this discussion, but I'd like to do it when I am not as emotionally caught up in the situation. Normally, that takes me about 48 hours to be able to settle down again so I can talk about it fairly rationally. And Carrie says, I'm not broken, but I'm pretty dented in a lot of places. Yes, I think that is true. I think in a lot of cases, we need to understand that we can sit there and we can try and tell somebody a different point of view, that they misunderstand us, that they don't get it, whatever. We can do that for the rest of our lives. They're still going to have their opinion. Yeah. I think we all understand the difficulty of getting into a relationship with a controller. Oh, no, I can't say that we all understand. Some of us really understand because we have been there and done that and had our version of it. There is something very toxic about a controlling person, somebody who doesn't want you to live your life, they want you to live their life. And I've been there and done that, and I've had my version of that. And I want to tell you, I really work hard to make sure nobody does that to me again. This is really important to me that I keep my freedom. And I think for anybody who's been in a controlling relationship, um, boy, were we pleased to get out of it, however we did it. It might have taken us a lot longer than we would have liked, but we got out, and we are healthier because of it. Beth saying controlling people seek out the right type of person to be able to control them. Yes, um, and I was. Everybody, was horrified because I appeared to be so strong. But I can look back and go, no, I was not strong. I did whatever I needed to do to keep that person happy, and that was, when I look back at it now, it was extremely painful. How many of you have been in jobs like that where, in order to keep your job, you were being asked to go against your ethics, for example, or in order to keep your job, you needed to do things that you thought were not quite right. And I look at that, and even that, if you decide to walk away, people may judge you for that, but you know something? You walked away from a controlling situation that was unhealthy. Jody's saying controlling people want you to live your life on their terms. Yes, they don't want you to live it on your own. And Kerry's saying, I refuse to argue now with people that are unwilling to hear a different side of a story. He was so controlling in lots of ways. Yes, I think he was. But you saw that. And Kerry's saying, I'm still standing, not as tall as usual, but I'm still standing. I'm doing my best to keep on keeping on. Yes, you will do. We know you, Kerry. You're a fighter. You are a survivor at many levels. And so you know that this is going to be sore, and that's okay. I would be horrified if it isn't sore for you. I would be horrified if your heart were not breaking just a little bit or a lot. Right, and Kimmy's saying, yes, she had been in that sort of job and she left. Yeah, I did too. How do we know those signs? All right, so let's have it from the group. How did you know? A great question, by the way, Nyasha. How did you know you were in a controlled situation where somebody was trying? Mind you, I've got to say this for a second. Most jobs, you are in some ways in a controlled situation. These are the guidelines of the job. This is what we need you to do. And you agree to do them. That is not being controlled. All right. That is, these are the conditions of the job, and if you agreed to the job, then that is not being controlled. That is you accepting the conditions. The hours are 9 to 5. And if you take the job, then you agree to those hours. The job requires that you lift heavy weights. I'm thinking about Beth. If you agreed to take the job, then you understood that. So some things are not controlled; they are factual. However, I would like people's input. Those of you who have been in a controlling relationship, what were the red flags that you ignored for a while and suddenly couldn't ignore any longer? Kerry, with your permission, I will talk to your major one because I think it is one of the biggest red flags that there is. And, and that's why I would like to discuss that, but only with you. Okay, thank you, Kerry. Kerry had a situation where she has a friend who is, I think I'm correct that your friend is transgender. Is that correct, Kerry? Just help me on that one. And what happened was the man in her life didn't want her associating with a transgender person for fear, and he admitted that, for fear that the relationship would end up with the transgender person and Kerry, which was, you know, sad, not going to happen, but that was their problem, right? That was their fear. It wasn't a reality, it was their fear. And so, because he didn't want that to happen, he tried to tell Kerry not to see that person. And Kerry said, I'm sorry, that's my friend. I will see her. By the way, Kerry, that to me, that showed that you understood what was going on. And I think that all of us who've been in controlled situations know that that is a big warning flag. When somebody wants to control who you see, when somebody doesn't want you to go out without telling them what you're doing and why, when they want you, oh, by the way, if you're on a telephone call and they say, I've arrived now, put the phone down. That's all controlling behavior. Big red flags. The one leads to more. Sometimes we go, whoa, that was weird. And what I want you to know is that is all controlling behavior. All right, Jody's saying that in her case, the person tried to change my point of view and moral compass on several subjects. And when I refused to change, I got the silent treatment like a petulant child. Do you want to give us, for instance, on that one, Jody, just so that we can, have a warning flag for people? Kimmy's saying, my first husband was very controlling and abusive after we got married. Yes, it's funny how it doesn't come out until the relationship's pretty solid. I was always amazed about that. I can remember when I got married, I wasn't allowed to pick the furniture in our house. All right? It had to be what he wanted, not what I wanted. Um, and that, it. I was going, what? um, and it didn't come out until after we were married, and I got very angry about that. Why didn't you show me this side of you before I got involved and gave marriage vows? Yes, and Kerry's saying, I stood up for myself, and he didn't like that. If we butted heads, he'd ignore me, which triggered me on so many levels. Yes, but I think a lot of people do that. And this is why I love you, Beth. Beth saying, I might be a bit controlling in some areas. I love that you can look at that, Beth. Do you want to think about and let us know in what ways? I definitely, I read Jodie's um, about being with a person who tried to change her point of view, and I'm going, oh, and moral compass. I'm going, wait a minute, I've changed Jodie's point of view. All right, so does that make me controlling? Yeah, I suppose so in a way. Yeah, and yes, you're saying because at the moment I haven't got anybody in a relationship, right? And I nor do I know those qualities. That's why I asked, because if it does happen, I want to know which ones to accept and which ones to reject. Boy, I wish there was a nice list that we could give you, you know, but sometimes we just have to learn it the hard way. That's part of our learning. Jody's saying he didn't like my political views and tried to argue that they weren't as valid as his, the opposite political party. He talked down to me, called me stupid and uninformed. I saw a really great quote today, and it was about Bob and Jane. And Bob was a conservative, and Jane was, um, a liberal. And what it said was, and they still talk and are married. It's okay to have different views. Just because somebody has a different view doesn't make them stupid or uninformed. It just means they see it from a different perspective. They have different values. I assure you that Big Brother Jeff has very different views from mine in terms of, um, he's very conservative and I'm liberal in my thinking. And which is why I live in Canada. It's really interesting how different we think, and it's called. There is a reason why in I guess we were taught don't discuss politics or religion, in company, because really everybody's entitled to their view. Kerry's saying it was a control issue on his part. He also never cared about my mental health. I'm calmer now and less anxious with him gone. Yes, but he filled other roles. Yes, Kimmy's saying I got called so many bad names. And Jody's saying the more I stood up for myself, the angrier he would get. And Kerry's saying the same thing, that her man was so conservative and I am polar opposite. Yes, and you're entitled to be. All right, and Yesh is saying, I don't think I'm strong enough yet to stand up to somebody who is controlling. I will defend my ethics, values, and boundaries if they're being crossed. Yes, and what you're learning is how not to do that in anger, how to do that in a peaceful way. And that takes a little bit of learning, but I know that you're working on that. Beth is saying it's weird that I have a chore chart for my. Is it weird that I have a chore chart for my husband? This might be an example of being controlling. My husband would never give me a chart. It's kind of disrespectful. Maybe I should rip it up. Don't rip it up before you have discussed it with Charles. The reason is he might actually appreciate knowing what you want him to do. One of the things I said I had a husband and wife come to me, and one of the things I said to the husband is it's not what you think you need to do in the relationship. It's find out what your wife would like you to do. If you can do the things that she would like you to do, she will be happy. Now, it doesn't, it goes both ways, obviously, that she needs to find out the things that he would like to do. And Beth is saying, yeah, but I think he thinks of me like a mom. Well, that's because you treated him like a child. Beth, that's why he sees you as a mom. Kerry, there are an awful lot of people that don't like that you think for yourself. All right? So it's, there are a lot of people. Yes, exactly, Beth. Been married for 30 years and you're still learning. Yes. Isabel Lopez said, "It never dawned on us that life is unpredictable, that one day one of us would suddenly cease to exist, and what then? What would be the joy in having left so much unsaid? With what memories would we fill the empty silence?" And I have to say that that is so true. We all need to be aware that life is fleeting, that love can be fleeting. And let us not leave unsaid that we wish to have somebody know. I try and make sure that the people in my life that I love, that I tell them every time I speak to them. If I'm on the phone and I'm about to put the phone down, I'm going, "Did I tell you today that I love you?" Because I do. Because, I think it's important that we remind people. And if you really want them to know that you mean it, tell them why. Not just that I love you, but I love the way you care. I love the way you do this. I love the way that you are so strong on this. Tell them what. And Beth, you remember I said to you some time ago, if you want Charles to know that you love him, look at him when you talk to him. Because I was so aware that you were so busy. I was pretty sure you never looked at him when you talked to him because you didn't have time to stop and look at him. Nicholas Sparks said, "It happens to everyone as they grow up. You find out who you are and what you want, and then you realize that people you've known forever don't see things the way that you do. So you keep the wonderful memories, but you find yourself moving on." Beth is saying a funny moment with my husband is that I buy his clothes. I bought his clothes all these years, and I just discovered he's never liked wearing red. Why did he never say anything? Because he wanted to please you, maybe? Yes, Nyasha, I want to tell you that I'm certain you'd love to hear that from your family, that you love them, that they love you. I've got a sister who won't hug at all, just if I go to give her a hug, she'll back away. I don't do that. Yeah, guess why? Different different mentalities. Somebody said, "I don't know what lies ahead, but I want to keep going forever." And Shannon Alder said, "Every woman that finally figured out her worth has picked up her suitcases of pride and boarded the flight to freedom, which landed in the Valley of Change." Pascal Messier said, "We leave something of ourselves behind when we leave a place. We stay there even though we go away. And there are things in us that we can find again only by going back there. And then we're normally disappointed." That's my addition on that. No, I don't think it's a Caribbean thing at all, Nyasha. I don't think it's Caribbean to not hear about love because I think that a lot of I think about some of the great um, poets and songwriters out of the Caribbean. I think they know a great deal about love and talk about it. Anne Brescia said, You thought you had a choice to stay still or move forward, but you didn't. As long as your heart kept pumping and your blood kept blowing through your lungs, kept filling, you didn't. The pang she felt for Tibby carried something like envy. You can't stand still for anything short of death. And God knows she tried. And for those of you holding a grudge that you cannot let go of, grudges are for those who insist that they are owned. Forgiveness. Sorry, let me try that again. Grudges are for those who insist that they are owed something. Forgiveness, however, is for those who are substantial enough to move on. If you're holding a grudge, what is it you think that person owes you? By the way, they don't. They don't owe you anything. Just because you love them this much doesn't mean they owe you anything. When you can actually learn that lesson, you will be happier. It's not fair because, life is not fair. Learn the lesson. They don't understand me. It's not their job to understand you. Beth is saying grudges eat at your soul and take away more and more of yourself each day. Yes, don't they just? And Sharon Alder also said that the only real battle in life is between hanging on and letting go. If you look at yourself every day, what are you battling to hang on to? And what do you need to let go of? If you can ask yourself, if you said that to yourself every morning, what am I hanging on to that I don't need to? What do I need to let go of? I am still, even now, trying to let go of things every day. Every day, I try and throw another thing out of my life because I know I'm bringing in another thing. Holding on to something that is good for you now may be the very reason why you don't have something better. Think about that one. Yeah, Kimmy's also saying, is that about grudges, Kimmy? I just want to make sure that I got that reference correct before I quote you. I'm just waiting for Kimmy to give me the okay on that one. I just want to make sure that I got it right. All right, for anger. All right. So Kimmy's saying that her anger has eaten her up. How many of you relate to that one? Right? That you let anger control your life. We hate to think of somebody controlling our lives, but how many of you have let your anger control your life? How many of you have let your judgments of others control your life? How many of you have let your insecurities control your life? And so, this is not just about Kerry and what's going on or the other people who've lost people this week. We all deal with loss every day at some level. On a lighter note, somewhere in my life, there is a blue bra that I have totally lost. Any of you know that one? It's like, I don't know where it went. And what is all the more confusing is, I I'm one of those people. I hand wash my bras in the shower when I shower every day. And, it's like, it didn't leave my bathroom. So where is it? It's like, seriously? How can it be missing? I sent talking about loss, I sent a Christmas card to Big Brother Jeff, and it came back to me in August. Something happened to the address. It got all messed up. And so they returned it to me. And I put it away carefully for his visit so I could give it to him. How many of you know I have not been able to find he's come and gone, and I was not able to find it. I am certain many years from now, I will find it. Niesh is saying, my dad often says he loves me, but never shows it. If he doesn't see me for a day, he asks, are you all right? A weird question, because he sees me before asking. And often I am well. Yes, I think he's trying to, Nyasha, may I make a suggestion to you? That will completely change the relationship with your daddy if you want it to. I've got lots of people in my life that if they don't hear from me for a day would be saying the same thing. Or even I've got some that if they didn't hear from me in 4 hours would ask me the same question. It's interesting. Okay, so Nyasha, when he asks you that sort of question, are you all right? When he's already seen that you are, how about you smile at him and say, thank you, Daddy, or whatever you call him. Yes, I am, and thank you so much for caring that much to ask me. I love that. Do you think you could say something like that? Thank you for caring. You see, if you keep rewarding good behavior from your daddy, he'll do more. It is human nature. I'm a great believer. Reward good behavior. So if you like it that your daddy cares about you, don't think it's weird that he does. Thank him for doing so. Think about that. Shannon Alder again, this one. A competitive and insecure woman will tell you that true love is never giving up on someone you're in love with. A confident spiritual woman knows that moving on doesn't mean you never loved someone. She realizes that letting go is what God needs her to do because both your happiness and hers requires taking different journeys on a spiritual path. Letting go is sometimes the hardest thing, but it is the most real love you will ever experience. Wow. Sometimes the hardest part isn't letting go, but rather learning to start over. Right? How many of you agree with that one? Because you're on shaky ground now. I was on solid ground. Now suddenly the earth has shifted. The sand is shifting from beneath my feet. I'm not quite sure what is solid anymore. So, starting over is difficult. Kimmy's saying, I think beating up on myself for years because of the behavior of people in my family. It's not me and I should let it go. Yvonne, bring that right here. Yvonne's walked up with a with a special treat for me, and I could do with it today. Make it a rule of life never to regret and never to look back. Regret is an appalling waste of time and energy. What's it?
What are you doing with the twirly bird?
Oh, Jody bought me. Okay, that's a proof. Okay, thank you, Fanny. I love you. I'll see you in a bit. It's spaghetti and meatballs. Didn't work well, did it? Mm, it's going to take a while. Thank you, Sue. Wait, where was I? Oh, Niesh going, that's caring? I didn't know that. I used to think it was a stupid question because he knows I'm well. So why ask if I'm okay? All right. Well, now I know I'll say, yes, I'm all right. And thanks for asking. Yeah, thanks for caring that much. Mm. And Jody's reminding Kimmy that should is a guilt word, right? And to choose to let go of your family's stuff is a lot more kinder to yourself. Yeah. Oh, Niasha, I'm sorry. Is that Yvonne you wanted to say hello to? It's always too cold. I will certainly make sure I do that when she comes up for dinner. You know, it's Sunday, so she'll be back to get her dinner soon. No, I'm going to have to wait. Story of my life, not waiting. It'll be great in about 15 minutes. It is so good. And I have managed to work out how I can fit that into my daily eating habits without punishment. I'm actually doing a lot better with that. I am learning how to put in the treats and still keep my blood sugar under control. Um, and one of the greatest things that I found is that I make myself a little grab bag of how many of you, like to have, you know, chips or something when you're watching television? I have a little grab bag that I'm allowed to eat while I watch television. And, I found out that if I only eat this much, it's about 3/4 of a medium-sized baggie. If I only eat that much, it doesn't affect my blood sugar too badly. And I throw a little bit of everything in there, a couple of corn chips. I throw in a couple of caramel popcorns. I put in a lot of regular popcorn because that's good fiber. And a handful of nuts and trail mix. I put in a handful of that, and I've managed to get this incredible thing of what I can eat, not what I can't, and it's really amazing. And as Jody is my witness, I've managed to bring my blood sugar down quite dramatically since Big Brother Jeff left. But it took a little bit of work and understanding of what I could eat and what I couldn't. I also have found that having the right snacks available to you that are only protein is a really good idea. I learned that one from Beth, of course, and from Jody. So I found that I've been making my own little mini sausages, with a mixture of beef. And by the way, my meatballs today that I'm doing are half beef, half turkey. If you want to cut down the fat, then, you know, put stuff in there that, put that white meat in there rather than all beef. So, and they taste great. I'm really very, very pleased with them. I tasted a couple, of course, to make sure they taste okay. I tasted the first one and it tasted so good, I thought I better check if the second one is as good. Do any of you know that feeling? Catherine Mansfield said, make it a rule of life, never to regret and never to look back. Regret is an appalling waste of energy. All right. That's where I wanted to go back to. Yes, Nyasha's talking about a little bit of interesting things. She's saying, "Can I" is somewhat demanding when asking a question, and "May I" is more polite version, but I never knew that. No, actually, you know something? There's a difference. Um, if you care to think, my mommy used to say this to me, Nyasha. Can I murder somebody? Yep. May I? No. One is, am I able? Can I do it? Am I able to do it? But the may I is, do I have permission to do it? Does that help? So it's not about being more polite. One is, am I able? The other is, do I have permission? I don't want to confuse you more than necessary, but that's what my mommy taught me. So can I cross the road without looking? Sure, I can. May I? Nope. It's one is, am I able to? Can I go through a stop sign? Yeah, I can. Doesn't mean that I should, but can I? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting difference. But that's what my mom said to me. One is, are you able to? The can, and may I is, do I have permission to? So just a thought. All right, now this one is very true. The most difficult aspect of moving on is accepting that the other person already did. How many of you have been through that one? How many of you been through that one? He moved on and is happy. How dare he? Ah, I can remember that. You know? Yeah, I was a different person then, but I can remember that. Yeah. What do you mean he moved on? He's got a new wife or a new girlfriend or whatever. How dare he? You know, I haven't finished being angry with him yet. Mm. Yes, it's my pleasure. You didn't have my mummy as your mummy. She was very picky on those things, Niasha. She's been dead for a long, long time. But you know something? I still hear her every day. It is really amazing how, in one instance, a wall can be torn down or climbed over. Misconceptions can be shattered, illusions dashed, dreams irrevocably ruined. Given the right frame of mind within a heartbeat, people can begin the business of starting over. Yeah, yeah, Kerry, thank you that I'm not the only one, you know. Yeah, it's okay to admit that, Kerry. Kerry's saying I'm petty at times, sadly. Yeah, I used to be really petty. So, yeah. Mm, mm, it's just about ready. Okay, so before we stop the broadcast, I just wanted to check one thing for you all, which is it's for those of you who know Andrea in Germany, it's her birthday tomorrow. It also would have been my mum's birthday tomorrow. For those of you who go back far enough to remember Laura, she was the dancer. It's her birthday on Saturday. So just so that you have a heads up. Uh, and so I just want to check if um, there are any thoughts and prayers that I need to put up that Jody can remind me of uh, for this week. And if so, let's have them so that we can get them up on the website. And any suggestions that you have for any broadcasts that you would like to see me do in the future? I always like that. So I just want to say, um, this broadcast was really an important one for all of us, not just for those who are grieving. And because we don't know, this time next week, we could be in the same position. And I always like to make sure that you know that there is a broadcast that you can listen to, on the replay and go, wait a minute, Sal, we did this broadcast. I need to go back over it again. I need to hear those things again. And that is really, yes, Kerry, I agree with you. Kerry saying prayers that both Mike and I can heal in peace. Yeah, you have no reason to hate him. He is on his own path. He hasn't learned. Um, that little bit that you have doesn't make him less than, Gary. It just is his path has been different. It is something he will or not learn during his lifetime. And it is sad. And I know that you tried to get counseling for the two of you about this sort of stuff, and he chose not to. And you did the best you could. And so you can't fix somebody who doesn't want to learn. And that's doesn't make him a bad person, just makes him somebody whose growth is not at the same place. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are saying, I wish I'd known all these things when I was a lot younger, or I wish I'd learned them a lot earlier. Well, you weren't ready then. That doesn't mean that you were stupid, or whatever. It just meant that you weren't ready emotionally. And that's why I've spent so much time this year working on emotional intelligence. And I don't know if you guys have felt the difference. I have a feeling I could probably spend another year still talking about it so that we continue to grow. And that would be something that I would like your feedback on. Have these moments been helpful to you? Do you feel that you have grown emotionally? Because if the answer is yes, then we're doing the right things. It's so easy just to be flippant and fun and entertaining, and so difficult to be serious. And not everybody enjoys it. But to me, it is those of you who want to learn, those of you who take it seriously, that really I want to help. I hope that makes sense to you, because I know it's not easy. I love that Nyasha asks these questions, and how sad that she doesn't know that her daddy asking her if she's okay is a caring thing. Isn't that sad? For her not to have realized that, but she does now. But the reason she does is because she asked the question. And Nyasha's saying, I'm certain that I heard this already, but just for clarification, do you write down and keep affirmations and read them on a daily basis each morning? If so, what does it do? Because I do it all the time. I also have a daily, have you ever heard of A Course in Miracles, Nyasha? I also take, they have a daily meditation thing that I put up on my system every day. So yes, absolutely, keep doing it. It'll help you. All right. So Kerry's saying, I am at peace. I don't hate Mike, and I never will. Good girl. He's a good person, and so am I. Well done, Kerry. That's exactly the place to be. And Jody's saying it's been a very interesting and insightful topic, and I would welcome continuing to learn more. Okay. And Kerry's saying, same here, Jody. Okay, then I will continue it. I realize that we're getting pretty close to the end of the year. I certainly have found it an eye-opener for myself. I found it very interesting to look at these, and I really have only touched the surface. So I'm going to continue to delve into that more and find you more examples and case studies that I hope you will enjoy learning through. Because what I'm trying to do is not just give you the boring lesson, but rather to give you case studies either from my own life or somebody else's that demonstrate what happens. So, Kerry, as much as this has hurt you, and I'm thinking about thoughts and prayers for Lauren, who's been through a very tough week, um, you know that your grief will help us in ours, right? Because we have all been reminded of these things and what to do. And so, Beth, I wanted to wish you a wonderful vacation. How many days vacation do you have? I Because it for you the word vacation just doesn't come to my mind. When I think of Beth, I don't think of vacation, but it's 7 days. I am so proud of you for taking 7 days for yourself. Well done. Very good. So I'm off to go and finish cooking um, the spaghetti and meatballs, and I've got a green vegetable casserole that's going with it, and I'm going to put. I think I'm going to put some almonds over the top of it. Maybe a bit of cheese and almonds. How about that? And I made my own spaghetti sauce. I'm going to add some mushrooms to it before I serve it. They don't take very long to cook, but I'll just drop some mushrooms in there, and that will add to the taste. So there we go. That's what we've got for dinner, and I'm going to be less on the spaghetti and more on the vegetables and meatballs, which are really tasty. The question I'm trying to work out is, am I going to put the meatballs into the spaghetti sauce? What do you think? Those of you who are big cooks, should I put the meatballs into the spaghetti sauce or will they break apart? Boom, 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 boom. I got a feeling I should just drizzle it over the top. All right, Nyasha, good to see you and good to see you all, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm going to enjoy my meal. No, you don't put yours in the sauce. No, I've got a feeling they would break apart. But I really have to say that combination, Jody, I don't know if that's what you do, but the combination of half beef and half turkey, boy, that is tasty. Mind you, some of the stuff I threw in made it tasty as well. And by the way, do any of you want to hear my oops moment while I was cooking? I took a bottle of hot sauce, and instead of flipping the lid, so I put in a little bit of hot sauce. I actually took off the lid. My mind was somewhere else. I didn't, and I went like this. I spent quite a long time trying to neutralize out the taste of the hot sauce. Did a bit of, thank goodness for Google. What do you do when you've put in too much hot sauce? But it still has a very nice kick to it. And you can probably imagine, yeah, oopsies was not what I said when I did it, Jody. I just, ah! I just went, I can't believe I just did. Wash it? How do you wash a sauce? What I found, yeah, it's like don't blink in 2 days kind of good. Yeah. So what I found was two things. Number one, cornstarch helps bring it down. Now I'm thinking about how to actually bring the actual sauce down. Yeah, so not just what to do once I tasted it. And so one of them was to put cornstarch in it. Um, and then the other one I did was I added some sweetness to it. So I added a bit of plum sauce to the sauce, and I added some cornstarch, and it seems to have worked. Okay, I'm out of here. Everybody, be kind to one another. Those of you who are hurting, remember you hurt so much because you cared so much. And you will probably continue to care at your own level. Hold on to the fact that you love this person and that you are glad that they came into your life so you could love. And rather than be angry because it wasn't perfect, be grateful for the good stuff. All right. So everybody, this is DearMamaSal going. I hope you've enjoyed the videos I've been putting up. I've tried to put up a few more videos for you guys. If you have, let me know. It's amazing how much time they take. I just, I'd forgotten how long. All right. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now. Have a good week. Bye.